Laura Novak strode through the gleaming halls of the interstellar diplomacy center, her heart pounding with anticipation and nerves. She had been training for this moment for years, honing her skills in interspecies communication and galactic policy. Now, at the age of 35, she was about to embark on the most important mission of her career. As she approached the briefing room, Lara took a deep breath, smoothing down her impeccably pressed uniform. She knew that the stakes were the Xerian, a technologically advanced alien race, had only recently made contact with humanity. Initial exchanges had been tense, with the Xerian wary of outsiders and fiercely protective of their borders. It would be Lara's job to bridge the gap, to forge a connection with these enigmatic beings and pave the way for a mutually beneficial alliance. The doors slid open, revealing a room full of high-ranking officials and diplomats. At the head of the table sat Admiral Nora, her steel-gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Laura had always admired the Admiral's no-nonsense demeanor and razor-sharp intellect. Diplomat Novak, Admiral Vera said, gesturing for Lara to take a seat. Thank you for joining us. Lara nodded, settling into her chair and glancing around the table. She recognized a few familiar faces, fellow diplomats who had been her classmates and colleagues over the years, but there were also several unfamiliar figures, their expressions unreadable. Admiral Vera cleared her throat, calling the room to attention. As you all know, we are here to discuss the Xerian situation. This is a critical moment in human history, a chance to forge a lasting peace with a powerful ally. But it will not be easy. The Xians are different from us in many ways. They have their own customs, their own way of looking at the universe. It will take a skilled diplomat to navigate these waters and build trust between our peoples. She fixed her piercing gaze on Laura. Diplomat Novak, you have been chosen for this mission because of your exceptional record and unique qualifications. You have a gift for understanding and communicating with other species. You are patient, adaptable, and quick on your feet. These are the qualities we need to make this alliance work. Lara felt a rush of pride at the Admiral's words, mixed with a twinge of apprehension. She knew that this would be the greatest challenge of her career, a test of everything she had learned and everything she believed in. Thank you, Admiral, Lara said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. I am honored to be chosen for this mission. I will do everything in my power to build a bridge between our peoples and forge a lasting peace, Admiral Vera noted, at a hint of a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. I have no doubt that you will, Diplomat Novak. Now let's get down to the details. For the next several hours, Lara and the other diplomats pored over reports and data files, discussing everything from Xerian culture and history to their advanced technology and military capabilities. Lara absorbed every detail, her mind racing with possibilities and strategies. Finally, as the meeting drew to a close, Admiral Vera fixed Lara with a penetrating stare. Diplomat Novak, there is one more thing you should know. You will not be going into this mission alone. The Xians have agreed to assign one of their own diplomats to work alongside you, a sign of good faith, they say. Lara blinked in surprise. I see. And who is this diplomat? His name is Ambassador Xof, Admiral Vera replied. He is said to be one of their most brilliant minds, a master of strategy and negotiation. He will be your counterpart and your partner in this endeavor. Lara nodded, slowly processing this new information. She had not expected to be working so closely with the Aaron, but she could see the wisdom in it. Having an insider's perspective could be invaluable in navigating their complex culture and customs. I look forward to meeting him, Lara said, trying to project confidence despite her racing heart. Together, I believe we can achieve great things for both our peoples. Admiral Vera gave a brisk nod. I hope so, Diplomat Novak. For all our sakes. She glanced around the table, her expression grave. This alliance is critical for humanity's future. We cannot afford to fail. With those ominous words hanging in the air, the meeting adjourned. Lara gathered her notes and files, her mind buzzing with plans and possibilities. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, full of challenges and obstacles she could scarcely imagine, but she also knew that this was what she had been born to do. She was a diplomat, a bridge builder, a seeker of common ground, and she would not rest until she had brought their two peoples together in a bond of lasting peace and understanding. As she stepped out into the bustling hallway, Laura felt a thrill of excitement and purpose course through her veins. This was her moment, her chance to make a real difference in the galaxy, and she was ready to meet it head-on no matter what the universe had in store. Little did she know just how much her life was about to change, or how deep the connection between her and Ambassador Xylo would grow. For now, all she knew was that she had a mission, a purpose, and a partner to help her see it through, and that was enough to set her heart alight with possibility. The first meeting between Laura and Ambassador Xylo was a tense affair. The Jiran was tall and imposing, with iridescent blue skin and piercing still eyes. He regarded Laura with a mix of curiosity and weariness, his posture stiff and formal. "Greetings, diplomat Novik," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "I am Ambassador Xylo of the Zirian Confederacy. I have been assigned to work with you on this alliance." Laura inclined her head. "Respect, Yule. It is an honor to meet you, Ambassador Zoff. I look forward to learning from you and working together towards a common goal." Zio's expression remained impassive. "We shall see. Your species is still young and untested. You have much to prove before you can be considered true equals." Lara bristled at the condescension in his tone, but forced herself to remain calm. "I assure you, Ambassador, humanity has much to offer. We may be young, but we are resourceful, adaptable, and committed to peace." Over the next several weeks, Lara and Zeleth worked side by side, negotiating the terms of the alliance and learning about each other's cultures. It was a rocky road filled with misunderstandings and cultural clashes. One particularly tense moment came during a discussion of Zirian social hierarchies. Lara used to the more egalitarian structures of human society, questioned the rigid caste system that governs Saurian life. "But doesn't this system limit individual potential?" she argued. "Shouldn't every Zirian have the chance to rise based on their own merits?" Zyla's eyes flashed with anger. "You dare question the very foundation of our society. The caste system ensures order, stability, and harmony. Each Zirian knows their place and their purpose. It is not for outsiders to judge." Held up her hands in a conciliatory gesture. "I meant no offense, Ambassador. I am simply trying to understand." But the damage had been done. Xylo withdrew, becoming even more cold and distant. Lara feared that she had irreparably damaged their fragile working relationship. As the days turned into weeks, Lara struggled to find common ground with her enigmatic counterpart. Zoff seemed to take every opportunity to challenge and undermine her, questioning her knowledge and expertise at every turn. Lara found herself working late into the night, wing over Zirian history and cultural texts, trying to find some way to bridge the gap between them. She knew that the success of the alliance hinged on their ability to work together to find some shred of mutual understanding and respect. Finally, after a particularly grueling negotiation session, Lara decided to take a different approach. Instead of trying to argue or persuade, she simply asked Zeleth about his own experiences and beliefs. "Tell me, Ambassador," she said softly, "what does it mean to be Zephyran? What are the values and ideals that guide your people?" Xylo regarded her wildly for a long moment before speaking. "We value strength, honor, and loyalty above all else. We believe in the power of tradition, in the wisdom of our ancestors, and we believe in the sanctity of our borders and our way of life." Lara nodded, absorbing his words. "I can respect that, Ambassador, and I believe that humans and Zions have more in common than we realize. We too value strength and honor, loyalty and tradition. Perhaps if we focus on these shared ideals, we can find a way forward together." Xylo was silent for a long moment, his silver eyes searching her face. Then slowly he inclined his head. "Perhaps you are right, Diplomat Novik. Perhaps there is more that unites us than divides us." It was a small moment, a tiny crack in the wall that had grown up between them, but it was a start, a glimmer of hope that they could indeed find a way to work together As they continued their negotiations, Lara and Zoff slowly began to develop a tentative respect for one another. They still clashed at times, their different worldviews and experience leading to heated debates and arguments, but they also found moments of common ground, shared insights and ideas that brought them closer to their goal. And so bit by bit, the alliance began to take shape. It was a fragile thing built on a foundation of compromise and careful diplomacy, but it was a glimpse of what could be possible if their two peoples could learn to trust and understand one another. Lara knew that there were still many challenges ahead, many obstacles to overcome, but for now, she allowed herself a small moment of satisfaction. She had taken the first steps on a long and difficult journey, but she knew that with Zoff by her side, anything was possible. Just as Lara and Zillow were beginning to find their footing, a new thread emerged that threw everything into chaos. A series of mysterious attacks at both human and Safuan outposts, causing widespread destruction and loss of life. Initial investigations pointed to a rogue faction, a splinter group of extremists who opposed any alliance between the two species. They called themselves the Purists, and their goal was nothing less than total segregation and the expulsion of all humans from HumanityInSpace. Lara and Sulla found themselves thrust into the middle of the crisis, working frantically to piece together clues and intelligence to stop the Purists before they could strike again. Despite their lingering differences, they knew that they had no choice but to work together if they wanted to prevent all-out war. Late one night, as they pored over surveillance footage and intercepted transmissions, Soph made a startling discovery. The Purists were being supplied and aided by a shadowy figure within the Zirian government itself, someone with access to top-secret information and resources. "This goes deeper than we realized," Hoffs said grimly. "The rot has spread to the highest levels of our society." Lara felt a chill run down her spine. What do we do? How do we stop them? Silo was silent for a long moment. "We have to go off the grid, conduct our own investigation, gather evidence that even the Zirian High Council can't ignore. It was a risky plan, one that could easily backfire and destroy the fragile trust they had built. But Lara knew that Soth was right. They had to take matters into their own hands, to follow the trail wherever it led. Over the next several days, Lara and Zeleth worked in secret, piecing together a network of informants and allies within both the human and Jiren communities. They chased down leads, interrogated suspects, and slowly began to unravel the web of conspiracy that threatened to tear their was apart. As they worked side by side, Lara couldn't help but be impressed by Xoth's cunning and dedication. He was relentless in his pursuit of the truth, willing to take risks and make sacrifices for the greater good. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the walls between them began to crumble. One night, after a particularly close call with Purist assassins, they found themselves holed up in a dingy safe house, adrenaline still pumping through their veins as they tended to each other's wounds and made plans for their next move. Lara felt a sudden rush of emotion overtake her. "Thank you," she said softly, meeting Zio's gaze, "for trusting me, for being here." Zio's silver eyes widened in surprise, then softened with understanding. "We are in this together, Lurat," he said, using her first name for the first time. "I could ask for no better partner." In that moment, something shifted between them, a recognition of the bond they had forged through adversity and shared purpose. They were no longer just allies, but something more, something deeper. But there was no time to dwell on these newfound feelings. The Purists were still out there plotting their next move, and Lara and Zoff had to stay focused on the mission at hand. Finally, after weeks of hard work and dangerous maneuvering, they had the evidence they needed to expose the Purist leader and their collaborators within the Zirian government. It was a bombshell revelation, one that sent shockwaves through both societies and sparked a frenzy of activity and outrage. In the midst of the chaos, Lara and Zith stood tall, united in their resolve to see justice done and peace restored. They had come so far, risked so much, and now the end was finally in sight. But even as they celebrated this hard-won victory, they knew that their work was far from over. The alliance between their peoples was still fragile, still vulnerable to the forces of fear and division. It would take constant effort and vigilance to keep it strong, to build a future of cooperation and mutual understanding. As they looked out over the stars, Lara and Seth knew that they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. They had each other, and they had the unshakable conviction that together they could face anything the universe had in store. It was a new beginning, a chance to forge a different path, and they would walk it side by side. No matter where it led, the future was theirs to shape, and they would not let this opportunity slip through their fingers. Not now, not ever. With the purest leader exposed, Lara and Sith knew they had to act fast to neutralize the threat once and for all. The rogue faction had gone to ground, but intel suggested they were planning a final devastating strike against the heart of the Alliance. Lara proposed a daring infiltration mission. To take down the purists from within it was risky, but she believed that with careful planning and Zio's inside knowledge, they could succeed where a frontal assault would fail. Silo was hesitant at first, worried about the danger to Lara and the potential fallout if things went wrong. But as they talked through the details, he began to see the merits of her plan. It was bold, audacious, and just might be crazy enough to work. Together they assembled a small, trusted team and began laying the groundwork for the operation. Lara focused on logistics, coordinating equipment and extraction plans, while Soph used his contacts to map out the purist hideout and defenses. The night of the mission was fraught with tension as they geared up and ran through final checks. Lara could feel the weight of everything that was at stake pressing down on her, but one look at Koff's determined face at the step fast support of their team, and she knew they could not turn back now. The infiltration itself was a heart-pounding blur of shadow and motion. They slipped past perimeter guards, dismantled security systems, and delved deep into the heart of the purist stronghold. There were close calls, harrowing moments when discovery seemed imminent, but they pushed forward with grim resolve. Finally, they'd reached the command center where the purist leadership was holed up, directing their forces. Lara and Zoph burst in, weapons drawn, and found themselves face to face with the mastermind behind the attacks. What followed was a tense standoff, a war of words and wills, as the purist leaders spewed hateful rhetoric and threatened destruction. But Lara and Zoph stood firm, countering his arguments with the strength of their shared convictions. In the end, it was Xylo who made the final appeal, speaking to the purist as one Ziran to another. He spoke of honor and tradition, of the true meaning of strength, and of the folly of clinging to hate in a changing universe. His words held power, resonating even with the most hardened extremists. Slowly, inevitably, the purist leader's support began to crumble. His lieutenants wavered, then lowered their weapons in surrender. The fight drained out of the leader himself, leaving him a broken, defeated figure. As Alliance forces swept in to secure the facility, Lara turned to Zoph with shining eyes. "You did it," she said softly. "You stopped them." Zoph shook his head, reaching out to clasp her hand. "We did it together." In the aftermath, as the adrenaline faded and the magnitude of their victory sank in, Lara felt a swell of emotions threaten to overtake her. Relief, pride, gratitude, and something more, something deeper that she was almost afraid to name. But as she looked at Zoph, at the respect and affection shining in his silver eyes, she knew she could not deny her heart any longer. They had been through so much together, forged a bond that transcended species and culture, and now, with the threat vanquished and a new future dawning, maybe it was time to explore what that bond could become. There would be challenges ahead, new complications and adjustments as they navigated uncharted territory, but she also knew with unshakable certainty that whatever trials lay in store, they would face them as they had faced everything else. Together, by side, unbreakable, the universe had brought them together for a reason. Two souls from different worlds who had found strength and purpose in each other, and now, with the horizon open and the stars aligning, they were ready to discover just how far that connection could take them. It was a new chapter, a new adventure, and Lara couldn't wait to see where it would lead. Hand in hand with Zoph, heart joined to heart, she knew that anything was possible, anything at all. In the wake of their victory over the purists, Lara and Zuli found themselves at the center of a new era of cooperation between humans and Syrians. They were hailed as heroes, visionaries who had dared to bridge the gap between their peoples and forge a path to lasting peace. There were ceremonies and celebrations, grand speeches and shining accolades, but through it all Lara and S remained focused on the work still to be done. They knew that true understanding could not be built on a single victory, but would take ongoing effort, patience, and commitment from both sides together. They threw themselves into the task of shaping the alliance, working tirelessly to establish new lines of communication, cultural exchange programs, and joint ventures. They negotiated treaties and trade agreements, fostered scientific collaborations and artistic partnerships. Slowly but surely they began to weave a new tapestry of cooperation between their worlds, and as they worked side by side, the bond between them only grew stronger. Late night strategy sessions turned into shared meals and long walks under alien skies. Heated debates gave way to laughter and tender moments. Almost without realizing it, they had become more than partners, more than friends. They had become the center of each other's worlds. It was Zilo who finally put words to what had grown between them. One quiet night, as they stood on the balcony of the newly christened embassy of the Alliance, the stars shone down on them, distant suns and worlds full of promise. As he took Lara's hand in his, "Lara," he said softly, his silver eyes filled with emotion, "you have become more dear to me than I ever could have imagined. You are my strength, my guiding light. I cannot picture a future without you by my side." Lara felt tears spring to her eyes, her heart too full for words. She reached up to cup Scott's face, tracing the familiar lines and angles she had come to know so well. "I feel the same way," she whispered. "You are my partner in every sense of the word, my North Star, my home under the benevolent gaze of the universe." They sealed their love with a kiss, a promise of forever. They knew the road ahead would not be easy, that there would be obstacles and challenges yet to come, but they also knew with unshakable faith that together they could weather any storm. As they turned hand in hand to face the horizon, ready to greet whatever the future might bring, one thing was certain: they had found something rare and precious, a love that transcended all boundaries, and they would cherish it, nurture it, and let it guide them forward now and always. The alliance they had fought for would be their legacy, but the love they had found in each other, the unbreakable bond forged in the crucible of adversity, would be their true triumph, a shining beacon of hope, a testament to the power of connection. And as the stars whirled overhead, ancient and eternal, Lara and Sith knew that they had truly found their place in the universe, their purpose, and their path together. They would build a future brighter than either had ever dared to dream, a future of unity, of understanding, of endless possibilities, a future written in stardust and sealed with love. The future they had earned, the future they deserved, their future forevermore.